morning. So it's that kind of morning. I'm not quite in this plane, which is fine because we're not going to be in this plane for very long anyway. So let's meditate. Take your attention all the way down into your body. Isn't it interesting that in meditation we first come into our body because we can't actually meditate from outside of our body? It's a very interesting thing. And most of us, because we've been so traumatized through our lives, it takes a long time to figure out where our body is and what it feels like to be in it. And so this is the reason we start every meditation with pulling our attention inside, because a lot of us are stuck outside and don't even know it. So pull your attention deep inside with your breath. All the way down to the tip of your tailbone. And let's say the Om sound internally, allowing that energy center to expand. And now follow that path from the tip of the tailbone downward, connecting to Mother Earth, all the way to the center of the earth. Bring your attention upward to the energy center below the belly button. And now moving to the energy center in the solar plexus. into the third eye. And the energy at the vertex at the top of our head. And now extend your awareness to participate in the flow of energy through and around the body. Allowing that motion to inform you in whatever way you are ready to receive. So holding our attention deep inside our own energetic mechanism, gently allow yourself to open your eyes. We're getting a big download we want to share with you this morning. Humanity, in embracing scientific method, has, we'll say systematically because scientific method is systematic, denied the power of intuitive understanding or the necessity to use that as our guide to understanding life around us, and instead has chosen scientific method, which uses the trial and error method of exploration. What's this button? This is fine as long as we're in a linear system, but life itself is nonlinear. And when one begins to expand into the nonlinear from the linear, then without intuition, there's no guidance system. So our science is going beyond the power of linear guidance system. And so interesting phenomena are appearing in our world that we have no idea. We maybe can describe it. That's what science is good at. But we have no idea about the powers we are unleashing into our world because we have lost or not cultivated the intuitive capacity which would allow us to evolve to be able to interact and understand these energies which are being unleashed. We have not gotten to them through the power of our intuition, but through the expansion of our linear thinking to the place where it goes into the nonlinear, because of course linear is very limited. But in order to understand nonlinear, we have to evolve past the linear. And as a species, we have not done that. And uniformly, as a species, we've persecuted people who are the most expert at nonlinear. And those of us who tend toward the nonlinear know that the only answer is always love. Those who are stuck in the linear don't have any answers. But having thrown intuition into the realm of non-believable, like being in a canoe without a paddle, not even one, let alone two. So the people we have empowered to guide us reflect our current state of non-evolution. And what we have decided as a collective is important. So those of us in the nonlinear can only shake our heads and hope to be in the early wave of our dissolution. because we have made poor choices about our guidance systems and the collective. And of course, there is always only one solution for us. It's the same solution it's always been and always will be, and that's to love more ourselves and everybody else we encounter. There is never a different answer. And we cultivate that more and more in ourselves, regardless of what's happening around us. We can be sad about the choices other people have made. That doesn't mean we abandon our own dedication to what's real, to what we have fought through her hard-earned experience to embrace as the purpose of our lives, because the linear was not enough for us ever. So this isn't really about despair, but it's about acknowledging the truth of our experience, as is always appropriate. Nor is it cause for fear. And as usual, we can celebrate our own capacity for awareness and the gift of that. The gift of knowing and seeing is no less of a gift because we don't like what we know or see. And there is so much change happening so fast at a rate that is beyond anything we can predict. We don't know what's going to happen next. We really don't know. Like, we really don't know. So we hold to our experience of the highest and finest that is available to us, and we cultivate it every day as we have been doing, and we continue to be curious about outcomes. And there's a good reason we don't make predictions, which is very, very obvious in this moment. Not only do human beings have free will, but the powers of the multiverse that we don't understand and cannot understand from a linear perspective. We have no idea what is being invoked by the ever more expanding linear exploration of the multiverse. We have no idea if we're poking the bear or not. So there's a bigger curiosity, like what? What are we doing and what have we done as a species to alter the natural world, even beyond our own earthly environment, which we have rapidly been destroying? We've been destroying in the way that can sustain us. It won't be destroyed, but humanity will be. This looks fairly certain. And maybe in our lifetime, maybe not. But still, there's only one answer. And it's the ultimate answer. And we are so fortunate to know that. So the message is still about love and light, regardless of how heavy daily life feels. We'd love to answer questions, hear what has been happening for you, and what the horizon looks like to you. How may we serve this morning? No, just because things are heavy out, go ahead.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
I feel so fortunate that we can all be together and just reinforcing the love no matter what. I mean, because I need to just let it penetrate deeper and deeper in me as it being the one and mostly only place that is so important. And I had such a interesting. I woke up at 3 and in the morning, and I've been going through some stuff and a lot of emotional stuff and grieving from the past, and with the therapist I'm working on. And but I it just went into a really deep meditation in the universe. It was really powerful. Um, and some wonderful things came to me and realizations, and um, I feel quite off today. The meditation helped, but just not quite, yeah, just not in my body. And so it's great being here and reinforcing the importance of where we are, and the concern of all the extreme changes that are um, taking place rapidly. So I just wanted to share that. I'm glad we have a grounding post here. And,
Thank you so much. You know,
yeah,
what we're going to say is that what we share is sacred space.
yeah,
Sacred space is that space of love, forgiveness, self-forgiveness, which is another word for compassion. And it's our experience that compassion can only arise in us, true compassion, when we have it for ourselves. And, you know, this is a reason to do therapy, is that we can discover our own need for self-compassion. And in experiencing that, have it for everyone else.
yeah. That's exactly what came through last night. And forgiveness for myself, and just appreciating the planet and all that we have here, and just spreading love around and feeling it in myself in compassion. And just it was it was pretty wonderful. A
You went
little
to
edgy.
sacred space.
It was
Yeah.
edgy, but very wonderful. Yeah, it led me in.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our full moon last night, so it was extra potent in ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're still in that energy
We're
this
still
morning.
in it, yes.
And so what we're going to say is that even though things are very intense and, you know, appear to be very serious, the celebration of sacred space is still really, really important. Just because things around us get heavy and serious doesn't mean that we have an excuse to close down and
Right,
reject ourselves.
right, right.
Because it's very important that we hold to our commitment to love inside ourselves,
Yeah,
regardless of what happens anywhere else.
yes. And it was like, well, same, I am what is out there. What I am recognizing in the universe, a multiverse, is the same in me. that is the stuff I'm made of. And
Yes,
um, yeah. So how lucky are we? I'm just
very.
grateful. I'm
Like,
grateful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's ultimately the only response we can have
Yeah.
because it keeps us in the sacred space.
Yeah.
And so there is this self-compassion, which is
Mhm.
really, really the thing. And through that, we can be compassionate to others. It,
Yes.
it doesn't happen the other way around
Right.
unless we're pretending.
Right.
And we've all done enough of that.
Well, there's a beautiful piece my therapist having going through my life and parental guidance, so to speak, and not having a father on board is so well, a father being on board to show you, guide you into the men that you're going to be with, in that we are with. And I had a wonderful little healing of acceptance around my father last night, in the middle of that with tears at 3 a.m. And then also I put my hand over to Dave and I went, okay, this clears more open space in our relationship. It's so lovely.
That's
Um,
so potent.
it
It's just
is.
so potent, that experience.
It is. And
Yeah.
so that awareness and going into this, and I haven't been in such grieving. I guess I kind of capped it off way many years back, but yeah. So I'm feeling kind of run down, and but that those experiences are just so wealthy. I mean, it's like a aha moment in 10 times fold, you know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so just seeing it and experiencing it and feeling it and opening up to that, it was fabulous. A new alignment in where I stand in myself and my relationships. And that's where the love can be experienced for yourself and others
Yeah, and more fully.
more fully. Right.
And it's not that we haven't experienced it before. We definitely do.
Right.
But what happens when we release the things that we did not have the energetic competence to bear in
Yeah.
the moments that the assaults happened,
Well said.
those things, healing those parts of ourselves, however we can do it. And therapy
Yeah.
is not the only way. Of
Sure.
course, spirituality can do it all by itself.
Right.
And these discoveries can happen in that way. But having the energetic insight to release ourselves from these patterns is the greatest gift.
Honestly, so much so. An eye opener. And
Yeah,
I've not done therapy before. I've done plenty of spiritual work, but on the other hand, she just guided me gently in. And it's there's been a lot of tears, and I've just been drained out. But on the other hand,
but
uh,
that's a good word. It's we see it as pus pockets, that just get drained.
right.
And when their energy is pulled out for healing, when that pus is drained, then the boil heals.
Yeah, yeah. So been some downtime to uh, move into this place for sure.
Yes.
to to feel it all the way through. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
you
Mm.
know, it's bigger and bigger sacred space
Yeah,
that we're all getting to.
it is. And it's what a beautiful, to be on board for this in as much as, I mean, it all is organic, of course, and comes as it comes. And accepting that awareness too. I mean, so anyway, yeah, just pretty wonderful, and appreciate all that your guidance for the wealth that we're sitting in ourselves.
Yes. And I mean, that's where it's always been.
Yeah.
Sacred space. And this is a perfect demonstration of the the experience that dissolving the matrix of belief that is misfiring within us
Yeah.
is the key to our spiritual growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
And we'll say for us, very often the clue is in our judgmental reactivity, the clue to what still needs to be released.
Yeah, that's a pretty obvious clue, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, and it can be so simple. Like, I'll just give you an example from my own psyche this morning. I looked in the refrigerator and I saw frozen Brussels sprouts in the refrigerator. And I know on the package it says to cook them from frozen. So I immediately went to, who did this? And it has nothing to do with anything. It's nothing. I was
Right.
like, why are the Brussels sprouts in the refrigerator instead of the freezer?
Like sometimes, well, it's an automatic response. You're like, oh, that doesn't seem right.
Yes, but it goes to a familiar pattern that is like
Yeah.
it's who took from having brothers that were constantly abusing my possessions,
Oh,
or
yeah.
younger brothers who, you know,
Yes.
but it just goes to these old patterns that have nothing to do with anything,
Right.
but they cause us to express negativity reflexively.
Right.
That's the reason we're
Right.
bringing it up, not because it's a you know it's something to notice,
Yeah.
and it's like it's a way in.
Right. It's a way
It's a
in.
way into something that is still unevolved in us.
Right. Right.
That's why we're bringing it up, because
Right.
it's whatever reflexively causes us to
Mm-hmm.
reject our environment, anything or usually it's a person in our
Mm-hmm.
environment is it's a new resource to go deeper in ourselves.
It sure is.
And so these very minor expressions of discomfort are often big clues for us to be able to go deeper in our own
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. And to look at them in a different light. Just be
Oh, yes,
grateful for
as
them.
information rather
Right.
than, and yet another opportunity to reject ourselves, which is usually what we do.
Right.
Okay, I'm a bad person because I can't even handle that there are Brussels sprouts in the refrigerator. you know, I mean,
Well,
that's a
thoroughly
choice,
we've been so thoroughly conditioned. It's goes to show it's like, oh, okay, fling that one off and that one
Yeah.
off.
And that's actually an act of self-compassion,
Yeah.
which is planting the seed of a deeper capacity
Yeah.
for real compassion in ourselves, which must happen first for ourselves before we have it to offer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I look forward to myself getting back online and having that. But as far as for my artwork and show up in life in a new, I shut it all down a year ago as far as my painting and
Oh, wow.
I just said, gosh, who have I been painting for, myself or others? And I just been on this until lately. I'm excited about a new me showing up. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. We look at those phases where we back away from everything. It's like bending your knees before you jump. You know,
Yeah,
it's not, you haven't stopped anything. It's your creative
right.
process is preparing to make another leap.
Well, I'm quite grateful to be informed in that way.
Yeah,
It
well,
opens up
you're
the potential.
gathering your own energy instead of having it distorted in pus
Oh,
pockets,
so true.
buried.
So true. Thank you. I'll give someone
Oh,
else a
you're so
chance to
welcome.
talk.
Yeah, this is very informative, I think, for everybody. Mm. Andrew, anything? Mm.
Mm.
How may we serve? Yes.
Hi. Hi. I just wanted to say that I so appreciate this space that you've created, and it feels like we have an oar, at least. Um,
Yes.
so and Nancy, I appreciate your positivity through all of the changes that take similar changes that I've had that I feel like take me down. They just boom flat. But there's the way up. Um, Especially at this dark time of the year, I can get really dark. Um, not in a more in a realism kind of way, I think, but it's just like, oh, well, here we are at the end of the world. Okay, we'll just kind of hang out. Uh, but there are things to do to make us better. And I've been doing a lot of ho'oponopono,
Oh,
which is
yes.
appropriate,
Yes.
appropriate for me lately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I got flattened out too in 2020, right after the pandemic. I mean, the pandemic, and then I shut my classes down, and my troupe sort of dispersed, and so I'm not dancing. So that's my expression, and I'm not really doing it. Um, and then I fell off a ladder, and then I had my hip
Oh,
placed, and yeah, it's been just like since then. It's just been pretty much a different world.
right.
That Yeah,
A
but
lot of loss.
a lot of loss, a lot of loss. Yeah, and it's amazing how when you're going through it, you just kind of go through it. You don't even realize it until you sort of start coming out of it, and you look and you say, "Wow, that's really bad." I mean, that was really hard time.
Well, it's so painful.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to say, oh, well, there are other expressions of creativity available. It's another thing to feel like you're starting over.
Mm.
One of having started over a billion times in many endeavors, one of the things that we've learned is that there is no limitation to creative expression. Most of that is in our mind. That you know how resistant, I don't know if you remember, but I know you lived through the period where we were resistant to learning astrology and and saying, why should we put a lot of energy into something that takes 20 years to master when we don't have 20 years left? And the truth is, in the attempt at mastery of anything, that's its own reward. And it doesn't really matter because we can also say from trying to master many things over time that no matter how close you get to perfection, you know this yourself, you can always see better. You can always see further than the level that you can accomplish, no matter how high it is in any endeavor. Because the more intimately you are aware of what perfection is, the less capable you are of actually achieving it. And even if you have a perfect performance, by that time, it in order to create the perfection, some of the life is lost. So having a living, creative experience of perfection it happens on its own. It doesn't have anything to do with us in creativity. I think you'll agree with me. What do you think? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because when we make it the same, then we've taken the life out of it in trying to make it stable. And so perfection is a living thing, especially in any artistic, and everything becomes artistic, you know, and it's always the same answer. Perfection is when you're maintaining sacred space, and then you are sharing that, and that has nothing to do with any individual. That sacred space is available for all of us, and nobody can own it. But everybody can participate in it. And so understanding that that's where real creativity comes from and is experienced, then the idea that perfection takes time disappears. It's about sacred space. And then with that understanding, there's no reason to feel any limitation. Does that make sense?
Hmm. I think so. I mean, uh the limitation is part of the process.
Well, experiencing and accepting the limitation. For example, there's nothing keeping you from teaching everything that you've learned over multiple decades. You don't have to be able to show how to do it. You know how to talk somebody else through the experience of it.
But I'm not sure I want to do that.
There's no need to.
Yeah.
What we are trying to articulate is a way out of the feeling of limitation. Because that feeling itself is the limitation. Does that make sense? Whenever we have a feeling that we're shutting ourselves down to something that formerly was a source of great joy, it doesn't mean that the joy is lost. It means that the experience has to come from a different place. And you are experiencing it very often here, and and same on your own. We're seeing the connection for you, but having trouble articulating.
Well, I feel like I am in a long process of acceptance, and it's not the kind of dead acceptance, you know.
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the I'm not dead yet. Wait a minute. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
it's a very live acceptance. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. I'm so filled with gratitude because that's what comes in.
Well,
Um,
and there's another thing, sacred space is not something we earn. We don't have to do, we don't have to be somebody or do something or, accept ourselves because of what we've done. Sacred space is what we are. It's not an achievement, it's a gift.
yes.
What else? Yes.
Well, I just have to share this because it's put such a smile on my face and my heart. I had a nice visit with your Ollie the other day,
He's a sweetheart.
and Andrew, but we were both on the floor and I was tickling him. And it was like, I think we were there with him 15 minutes, just little teeny pokes and little fun.
Uh-huh.
It just brought my heart. I have two birds. I don't cuddle with them at all. But that was so brilliant. And in my middle of the night connection, I just went around the earth with that carried me through how much I love animals and the ocean and just in that theme helped so much. So I want you to know that little guy brought me so much pleasure yesterday. I can't tell you.
I do know he's amazing. He's amazing.
So
Where he lives from in himself is just
he's so pleased. He's so happy. And it was
yes,
so
and
fun just playing with his little foot.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was very sweet.
And the relaxation he's capable of, is just it's a demonstration of what relaxation is.
Yeah, it was explained to me how he can lay on his back so long
Oh,
because
yeah.
of the
With
muscles.
his paws up in the
And
air.
his muscles in his back is formed a certain way to allow that. But I just had to say, thank you
Yeah.
for that. Thank you for that. That was just that plus a treatment I had. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
that puppy was
yeah.
just it's in me now. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. He's a sweet little boy. Hmm. So the full moon is in um, the house of the moon called Mrigashira. And it's a very interesting house because it's about searching for divinity. It's one of the divine nakshatras. And it's about the search. and it's ruled by Mars. Each nakshatra has a planetary ruler. And Mrigashira itself spans the junction between two houses, the house of Taurus and the house of Gemini. The sign of Taurus and the sign of Gemini. And in each of our charts, they're different houses, depending on where our ascendant is located. But Taurus is where the moon is exalted, which means the moon gives all its blessings when it's in Taurus. There is nothing withheld from moon when it's exalted. Now it will interact with other planets, and because of that, our experience of it will change in our own selves. But moon is uninhibited in Taurus. So we can feel her energy. And as moon moves into Gemini, still in Mrigashira, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is enemy to moon. But moon herself has no enemies. So moon doesn't experience Mercury as an enemy, but Mercury experiences moon as an enemy. So it's very interesting and somewhat confusing from an intellectual perspective. Because of course Mercury is the rational mind, and moon is not limited by rational. Moon is imagination and creativity and nurturing and love herself. So it's very relevant to the conversation we've been having this morning, and probably why it's coming up. The intersection between the exalted moon and the rational mind. So the rational mind tries to control the moon, but the moon is pretty much oblivious. The moon has no enemies. Except for the shadow planets. And, Rahu and Ketu, they don't really exist. They're eclipse points. And so they're shadows that engulf the moon and the sun at certain times. That's what eclipses are. So in that sense, Rahu and Ketu are enemies of both the sun and the moon because they swallow them up. But of course, everything that happens in the sky is temporary. And the whole word, temporal, has to do with the fact that everything is always changing. So we think that's interesting. That's the astrology of the moment. The moon changes so much. Every day the moon is in a different state. It's either getting bigger or getting smaller. but it's always different. And moon is somewhere in everybody's chart. So that particular place is always changing for us. For me, it's in the house of relationship. So it can be very confusing. But we all have it somewhere. What else? Ollie's completely out. He's in sacred space. So I guess it's time to meditate. Let's go back into sacred space ourselves. Hmm. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. It's been completely wonderful. Till next time, so much love.